You reach down to pet your dog, and before your hand lands, their tongue is already moving. Your face, your hand, your arm, whatever's closest. Most people smile and call it kisses, maybe affection, maybe just something dogs do. But behavioral scientists have spent years studying exactly this moment, the mechanics of it, the chemistry behind it, the evolutionary history underneath it. And what they've found doesn't look much like a kiss at all. It looks like something far older and far more specific to you. Let's start with the obvious explanation, because it's the one almost everyone reaches for first. Affection. Your dog loves you, so they lick you. Simple. Except when researchers started mapping when dogs lick, and who they lick, and what changes in their body when they do it, the affection theory started to fall apart at the edges. Not because it's wrong, because it's incomplete. In 2017, researchers at the University of Sao Paulo published a behavioral study tracking licking behavior across 96 domestic dogs in naturalistic home settings. They weren't looking at what owners believed the licking meant. They were looking at the neurological and contextual triggers behind it. What they found was that licking behavior clustered into at least 6 functionally distinct categories, each activated by different stimuli, each producing different physiological responses in the dog. 6 categories, not one. Your dog isn't doing one thing when they lick you. They're doing one of several things that look identical from the outside. And the difference between them tells you something specific about what's actually happening in their brain in that moment. Here's the first one, and it's the one nobody expects. It starts with salt. Your skin is a constant information source for your dog. The sweat on your arms after a walk, the residue from your meal on your hands, the cortisol metabolites that accumulate on your skin when you've had a stressful day. Your dog is reading all of it. Gustatory licking, licking driven by taste and chemical information, is one of the earliest documented forms in puppies. Before their eyes open, before they can regulate their own temperature, newborn puppies lick their mother's muzzle to stimulate food production. The behavior is hardwired at the level of survival. What's changed in domestic dogs is what they're reading and who they're reading it from. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, who runs the Dog Cognition Lab at Barnard College, has documented repeatedly that dogs process human scent with a level of chemical specificity that has no equivalent in human sensory experience. When your dog licks you, they are not just tasting your skin. They are parsing a chemical document, stress hormones, pheromones, microbiome residue, that updates their internal model of your current state. They know when you've been running. They know when you haven't eaten. Some studies suggest they can detect the cortisol spike that precedes a panic attack before the person experiencing it has any conscious awareness that it's coming. The lick that follows you into the kitchen at 7 a.m. isn't just a greeting, it's a check-in. But there's a second layer, and this is where it gets more complicated. In 2019, a team at Azabu University in Japan, the same group that published the landmark oxytocin gaze study in Science in 2015, extended their research to physical contact behaviors, including licking and nuzzling. They measured oxytocin in 28 dog owner pairs across multiple interaction types. Mutual gaze, as documented in their earlier work, produced an oxytocin surge in both the dog and the owner simultaneously. But what the 2019 data showed was that self-initiated physical contact from the dog choosing to lick or nuzzle the owner without prompting, produced oxytocin responses that were larger and longer lasting than contact initiated by the owner. Larger, because the dog chose it. Think about what that means. When your dog licks you on their own terms, they're not just responding to you. They are initiating a neurochemical event. They are opening the loop. And your brain responds the same way it responds to being touched by someone you love. The same molecule, the same cascade, across 2 completely different species. This didn't evolve by accident. The evolutionary record goes back further than most people realize. Dogs are the only animal domesticated before agriculture, before farming, before cities, before writing. Roughly 15,000 years ago, wolves began approaching human settlements. The friendliest ones survived. They passed on their traits. Generations later, they weren't wolves anymore, and the behaviors that accelerated that domestication process weren't just barking at predators or tracking prey. They were contact-seeking behaviors: proximity, touch, the choice, over and over, to approach rather than flee. Geneticists have identified unique insertions in domestic dogs on chromosome 6, a region associated with hypersociality and human-directed contact seeking. Wolves don't carry them. Dogs were literally shaped at a genetic level to want physical contact with us, to initiate it, to repeat it. The lick your dog just gave you has 15,000 years of selection pressure behind it. But here's the part that almost nobody talks about, and it matters. Not all licking is the same, and some of it is a warning. In 2018, researchers at the University of Lincoln published a study in PLOS One examining licking behavior in dogs alongside 17 other behavioral signals as indicators of negative emotional states. What they found contradicted decades of informal assumption. Excessive licking, specifically licking directed at the owner's hands, feet, or face in repetitive high-frequency bursts, was one of the most reliable behavioral indicators of anxiety. Not affection, anxiety. The study found that owners consistently misread this signal. They interpreted the licking as love. The dogs were communicating distress. A dog that licks you compulsively when you return home may not be overwhelmed with joy. They may have been overwhelmed for the entire duration of your absence, and the licking is a self-soothing behavior that has transferred onto you. The distinction matters because if you respond to anxiety-driven licking the same way you respond to affection-driven licking, smiling, leaning in, reinforcing it, you're reinforcing the anxious state along with the behavior. Researchers at the Royal Veterinary College identified 3 behavioral markers that separate the two: duration and persistence. Affection-based licking is brief and stops when the dog's attention shifts. Anxiety-driven licking continues and escalates if the owner doesn't respond. Body language context. A dog licking from a relaxed, loose posture is in a different state than a dog licking while panting, yawning, or showing whites of the eyes. Timing and trigger. Licking clustered specifically around departures, arrivals, or high-tension moments in the household has a different origin than licking during calm, low-stimulation interactions. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the only channel they have to tell you what's happening inside them. And the same behavior, the same physical motion, the same wet nose against your hand, can mean 6 different things depending on what's happening underneath it. Here's what the research keeps coming back to. The reason licking is so hard to read is that it sits at the intersection of almost every major system in your dog's brain simultaneously. Olfactory processing, oxytocin release, anxiety regulation, gustatory information gathering, social bonding, self-soothing. It is one of the most layered behaviors in the entire dog behavioral repertoire, and it evolved specifically in the context of a relationship with humans. Wolves raised by humans do not initiate licking the way domestic dogs do. The behavior didn't transfer from wolf to dog. It developed during domestication, shaped by thousands of years of what worked to create and sustain closeness with us. Which means every time your dog licks you, they're doing something that no wild animal does with a human. They're activating a system that was built over millennia specifically for this, for the two of you. So the next time your dog's tongue lands on your hand before you've even reached down to pet them, remember what's actually happening. They're reading your chemistry. They're opening a neurochemical loop that no other species can open with a human. They might be telling you they're anxious, or they might be telling you they chose you, right now, in this moment, on their own terms. The behavior looks the same either way, but now you know the difference. If this changed how you see something you thought you already understood, subscribe and leave a comment below. I want to know, what does your dog's licking actually look like? Brief and bright, or persistent and restless? Because that answer, as it turns out, tells you everything.